Walking through the streets of the city, we meet Michael, who seems a bit hesitant as he walks toward the police station. Once there, he asks to speak with Sergeant Gerber. However, the officer on duty tells him that Gerber hasn't arrived yet and that he needs to wait. The kid waits until Gerber arrives, who immediately notices blood on the young man's clothes and shoes. Michael promises to tell him the story, but only in private. The story begins with Klaus and Miriam, a somewhat mismatched couple who are having a fierce argument. Klaus accuses Miriam of being a burden who only spends his money and keeps the house in total disarray because she neither cleans nor cooks. Moreover, he says her son Michael is a rebel who only breaks things without any sense of responsibility. Miriam responds that they don't need him, which infuriates Klaus, and he kicks them out, giving them an hour to pack their things, declaring that he won't let them back into his house. With no money and no options, Miriam uses the last of her funds to call a taxi. However, halfway along the trip, the driver complains about all their luggage, and Miriam, who loves to argue, pushes the taxi driver too far, and he kicks them out in the middle of the highway. Somehow, they manage to reach a somewhat dangerous neighborhood where Michael has to use his savings to pay for a few nights in a depressing apartment until his mother thinks of something better. Meanwhile, Michael must not neglect his studies, so he enrolls in a nearby school where he quickly realizes he isn't welcome and that education isn't highly valued in this part of town. During the first recess, a pair of boys come to introduce themselves. The first is Christian, and the other is his younger brother, Matze. After class, Michael walks home, but is abruptly accosted by a hooded boy who takes him into an alleyway, where the rest of his gang is waiting. The leader, known as Harold, has seen him at school acting all smart and being the teacher's pet, so he has come to give him an official welcome to the neighborhood. Immediately afterward, the gang beats up Michael and steals his shoes. Sore from being beaten yet again, Michael gathers his things after the attackers leave. A girl named Lisa appears, having seen what happened, and she comes to help him. Embarrassed, Michael collects his belongings and leaves without even thanking Lisa for her help. On his way home, he runs into Christian and his brother, who help him clean up and lend him a pair of shoes so he can get home. That afternoon, his mother waits for him with some big news. She already has a new boyfriend, an artist who will soon be famous. However, at the moment, he has nowhere to live, so she has offered him a place to stay. Furious at his mother, Michael decides to stay with his friends, who live on their own and spend all day drinking beer and having fun. They only attend school so their parents will leave them alone. Most of their time is spent robbing houses at night. Michael suggests they rob Klaus's house as revenge for abandoning his mother. They return with the loot and exchange it for more beer to keep partying day after day. Michael, who is somewhat smarter, has stolen the homeowner's credit card and used it at an ATM to withdraw cash, thereby ensuring a solid emergency fund if necessary. The next morning, the famous artist is at their house, but it seems the only thing he's painted is an outline of Michael's mother. Back at school, Harold and his crew summon Michael to pay his fee. They also use the opportunity to show him what will happen if he's late with a payment. When he gets home, his mother is covered in bruises from the rough sex she's having with her new boyfriend. Nonetheless, she's happy because her boyfriend sold one of his paintings and gave her $200. When Michael hears the amount, he runs to his room and checks the place where he hid the money he withdrew with the stolen credit card. He discovers that it's gone. Furious, he goes to his friends for help to beat up the artist. But they have their own problems. Their crazy uncle has come to visit, and upon seeing that they've been drinking, has beaten them. Since Michael needs money to keep Harold off his back, he asks Christian for help. Christian takes him to Nemo, to whom they plan to sell the rest of their loot. Nemo gives them $300 for several silver cutlery pieces. The rest will have to be sold to someone else since he's not interested in it. After selling things on the street, their last item is a cell phone, a valuable piece of technology for that time, which they end up selling to Jamal, a local mobster. Back home, Gerber has arrived to inform Miriam that Klaus's house was robbed, and they need her fingerprints to compare with those found at the scene, since Klaus suspects she had something to do with it. Meanwhile, Michael comes across Harold at the train station and notices he has two small children, apparently the reason he extorts money from students to keep a roof over their heads. When Michael gets home, Miriam tells him he must go to the police station to have his prints taken, or else Gerber will come and take them both into custody. So Michael goes to the station, and the officer on duty takes his prints. Michael remains calm, quite sure he wore gloves that night. Just a few seconds after leaving the precinct, Harold and his gang approach him. Harold believes Michael has ratted him out for extorting students, and he plans to teach him a lesson. To make it more entertaining, they tie Michael to a chair and record the beating, intending to use the video to blackmail other students in the future. Things get a bit out of hand when they place a metal bucket on Michael's head and blindfold Harold, who tries to hit it with a baseball bat. When Michael gets home, his mother's new boyfriend sees the bruises on his body. He shows Michael a few moves that might help him in such fights, which Michael soon puts into practice. The next time he meets Harold, he hits him straight in the face and knocks him down instantly. Harold gets up, enraged, and pulls out a knife, planning to stab Michael. Luckily, Barut, Jamal's right-hand man, appears and saves Michael from a near-certain death. Barut warns the bullies that if they ever touch Michael again, Jamal himself will cut off their balls. Barut then takes Michael to Jamal, who has a proposal for someone as brave as he is, a simple job as a mule, delivering product to clients and handing the money over to Barut very early in the morning, after which Michael can still attend school. That same morning, Gerber is waiting for Michael in the principal's office to tell him that Harold has filed an assault complaint against him for breaking his nose. Michael laughs off the ridiculous claim and explains that Harold has been beating him up since he arrived at school. He even had to have medical tests because Harold hit him on the head with a baseball bat. Gerber tells him that if that's the case, then Michael must come to the station to make an official statement. Something that makes Michael very nervous because he's carrying his next delivery in his backpack. Fortunately, Michael keeps his cool, and later that afternoon, he meets up with Barut, who gives him the address for the next delivery. Using his innocent, good boy image, Michael manages several deliveries without any problems. Afterward, he meets up with his friends to hang out, but they behave like little kids. While Michael's perspective has changed, he wants to be like Jamal, who spends his days surrounded by luxury and beautiful women and doesn't have to worry about paying rent, since his home looks like a castle. Even Barut, who isn't very smart, has an enviable life. Later, during Michael's next delivery, the police show up and arrest the customers who were waiting for the package. Michael uses his good boy image to slip away without drawing attention, impressing Barut by not losing the merchandise in the process. That night, Gerber shows up once more, but this time not for an official matter. He has a date with Michael's mother, who used the fingerprint session to flirt with him. While his mother has relations with the policeman, Michael leaves the apartment and spends some time with Lisa, whom he's very attracted to. Suddenly, Michael gets a call from Barut about an urgent job. The customer is named Holger, and he isn't a fan of the common marijuana Michael usually delivers. This time, he has specifically requested pure cocaine, which makes this delivery far more valuable. After some strange behavior on Holger's part, Michael finally gets paid, $80,000, enough to earn him a promotion in the organization. Unfortunately, on his way back, he runs into Harold and his gang. Although they can't beat him up, they start messing with him and throw his backpack onto a train that's about to depart. Michael informs Jamal of what happened, and Jamal sends out his men to search the tracks for the missing bag. He also orders Barut to bring Harold in. Jamal then explains to Michael the huge mess he's gotten himself into. Michael breaks down in tears and promises not to snitch if the police find the bag, but Jamal doesn't care about that. He just wants his money. For now, there's a more urgent matter to attend to, so Barut arrives with Harold, who is gagged in his car. Once Harold realizes the enormous mistake he's made, he begs for his life and promises he'll repay the money by working. But Jamal has other plans. It's time for the good kid to commit to the organization and the problem kid to leave this world, a decision Michael must make. If he kills Harold, the gang will protect him no matter what happens with the money or the police. If not, Jamal will kill both him and Harold as punishment for ruining the deal. Minutes pass until Michael, with tears in his eyes, finally pulls the trigger and kills Harold. Michael is now officially a murderer, and Jamal keeps the gun with Michael's fingerprints as insurance until he repays the lost money. At this point, we reconnect with the opening scene in which we see Michael at the police station asking for Gerber. He confesses what he's done and begs to see his mother before they arrest him.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.